statement?
Yes, ma'am. It's okay if I read it?
Great, yeah, that'd be great.
A news release announcing the date, time, and place of the January 14th, 2019 Policy Committee meeting was distributed on January 9th, 2019 to appropriate media and other groups or individuals who have requested notification. The announcement and agenda were posted at the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs Central Administrative Office and on the website. The public has been notified that accommodations such as interpreters, mobility assistance, or other assistance will be provided to individuals with disabilities and special needs if requested in advance.
Okay, thank you. So we'll call the meeting to order, and we're going to just do everything by general consensus, Sam, because we don't have anybody to make a second.
Mm-hmm.
If you and I don't agree, then we'll
just duke it out, I guess.
Then we're very happy you're on the phone.
I just got interrupted again. Okay. My door's locked, so we're in good shape. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and adopt the agenda by general consensus unless, Sam, you want to change it.
Nope.
Okay,
I'm good.
So the first directive is 53514. These 4 directives have received public comment, and so let's take the first one, and the comments basically I'm looking at this physician's assistant and board certified behavior analyst and all that. Did the staff add that, or was that somebody's recommendation?
So for the if you'd like me to respond, Mary.
Yes, please do.
For the majority of these directive revisions, you'll see that we adopted the specifics from 53507DD, which was the directive approved last time. So we've just moved those things over for consistency.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the first comment then to be considered, and Susan, if I mess up, jump in there and tell me, because I'm trying to put together what y'all have
Sure.
put together.
Sure, if you'd like my help, just let me know.
Okay, so the first one is Kathleen Worthen comment, and I don't remember her. I don't remember if she's with ABLE or...
She's with Protection and Advocacy.
Okay. So I think she added the reasonable accommodations comment. Was that from her? I was thinking that was ABLE.
Yeah, this language came from what was adopted in, again, 53507DD, and we just pushed it on over. But pertaining to this specific directive, Kathleen also made a comment that needed to be incorporated. So it was supportive of the comments of ABLE, but it was also from Kathleen. So nothing new in there. It reflects the same language as is in 53507, which was approved by the Commission.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one is the same person stating reasonable accommodations be added.
Yes.
And that's all policy.
Yes.
Any objections, Sam?
Nope. I thought all of that looked very reasonable.
Okay. Let me get to my... Okay, were there any changes to those attachments? I mean, I don't really think we need to get into attachments. Unless you know what I'm saying.
Basically
They look good to me.
Okay.
Just for transparency, we did receive one comment about the language that you see in all capital letters, and that is statutory language and has to be capitalized as such. So just for clarity for anybody interested, that's why it looks that way and that's why it reads that way.
Okay, thank you. Is that on an attachment?
Yes, it's in the directive and on the attachment. I'm referring to, do you want to designate a family member or other individual with whom the provider may discuss your medical condition? If yes, whom?
Okay. Okay, so, 53515, there was a comment by Kelly Eifert. I think hers was, instead of putting that somebody's receiving services, she changed it to have been deemed unable to provide consent. It looks like that was her comment.
Yes, these next few are just really cleanup items.
Okay, like semantics or grammar?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Not really content changes, just clarifying so it reads a little bit smoother.
She's really better than a spell check. It's amazing. She didn't miss anything. So she added or as her next comment.
Right.
And the next one changed intelligent choice to informed choice.
Yes, and that's mirrored in the commission-approved directive as well on 53507. That was just moved over, but that did originate from Kelly.
So what I have is page 6 of a Word document. It may be page 5. We're back to that language. One of the two physicians, one has to not be involved with DSN. And the staff, there's a recommendation from staff added since I saw it.
Commissioner
Go ahead.
Thompson, will you let me interrupt just for a minute?
Yeah.
There was just a little bit of a time lag in the changes in 53507, those to reflect your language, one of whom is not employed by DDSN and not a DDSN contractor provider. I believe Sandra emailed that in the 12 o'clock hour. We went ahead and made that language mirror the commission-approved language, but these edits that you were seeing just were done before that was approved by the commission. So we've jived it together. So the sentence should read on page 6, I guess it's the second paragraph. If suspected to be unable to give valid consent, the person shall be referred to 2 physicians, and then here's the approved language, one of whom is not employed by DDSN and not a DDSN contract provider. Okay? So sorry about that on the circulated draft, but again, it was just an editing timeline.
Yeah, that's fine. It's
Okay.
back to what was approved in the other one, so.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely, the exact same, and I've looked at it to make sure it was the same.
That does look good, though, on the side. I hadn't seen that one. Independent of DDSN affiliation, I don't remember that, but maybe I did. Okay. So, scrolling on down, that's it.
That's it.
Yes,
Is that it for this one? Okay.
yes.
You good, Sam?
I'm good.
Okay, so the next one is 535. The next one is 600-005. Is that right, Susan?
Yes, 600-05.
Yep.
And that's behavior support, psychotropic medications, and prohibited practices.
Okay, so on this one, there were only a couple of comments.
Excuse me just a minute. Did we skip 60303, or is that
We'll do that next.
on down?
That's number 4.
Okay. I had them out of order then. All right.
Okay, so in 60005, which is what Susan just said, scrolling on down to what looks like page 10 on my Word version, under Roman numeral 1, no, maybe it's not Roman numeral 1. right before you get to psychotropic medication, Kelly Eifert comments, she wanted to put actual in front of its use. She wanted to change it to its actual use. Don't know why.
Just to make it a little clearer.
Scrolling on down to Lewis Stevens' comment on my page 12. I don't know what. Are y'all on the same page numbers as us?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so page 12, Lewis Stevens from Able, I believe, added this one. Unless the person communicates that they do not want their family to be contacted. If a person is unable to communicate, the family will be contacted. The person must be provided any needed augmentative or alternative communication devices, technology to assist in that dialogue.
So the first part of that, the unless the person part that goes all the way through the family will be contacted, that actually came from policy committee. The very last section, I believe, was modified or recommended to be modified by Lewis Stevens. Just to be clear on that.
If the person is unable to communicate, the family will be contacted. He added that. Okay.
That came from the policy committee. We had that discussion, it might have been back in July, just about that kind of default language to put in, because I think the concern was that family needed to be contacted. And then, so Mr. Stevens was just adding, it's a little unclear the way the document noted it, but the person, certainly you'd want them to be able to communicate in any way possible what they wanted, versus, I think, just assuming that they could communicate traditionally.
And then we added the augmentative devices. Okay.
Yeah, that's his part.
Okay, so scrolling on down, Lewis Stevens put the same thing back in there again.
Yes.
So they have to specifically say they don't want their family contacted.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm good with that. You good with that, Sam?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Vicky.
Want me to bring it?
Yeah.
Hey, it's Chris. I'm on the meeting.
Hey, Chris. Okay. You got any comment?
Not on that.
We need to discuss the on page 1, the first page, the term
minute,
client. Okay.
I clicked off of that. Let me click back on it. Okay, the first page.
Yeah. See that red notation on there? The term client representative.
Uh-huh.
I think that, Tana, would you explain why
we're saying that this is in violation of the Americans with Disability Act because you're setting up a different standard for those folks than you would a normal, or not, I shouldn't say normal person, but a person without a disability, saying that they have to have a client representative, and it's in violation of the ADA, and ABLE and P&A agree with that.
Tana, why is it that CMS final rule specifically has in it that a client representative has to be, and it uses the term client representative? Why is it saying that if it's in state law? That's in CMS final rule, and I can go home and pull it.
Okay.
So why is CMS recognizing client representative, but yet you're saying it's violation of the ADA? Why did the CMS final rule include that language?
Basically what we're doing is we're listening to Protection and Advocacy and ABLE just to answer their comment. So we're not really saying anything at the moment. What we're saying is ABLE and P&A raised this comment that they believe that this term is in violation of the SC code. So we are asking for we're seeking an Attorney General's.
We haven't decided that. We said
Okay,
that could be a
well, that's what we
possibility.
would like to do.
If that would happen.
This issue came up.
That'll clear it up.
That's what I would like to do.
CMS in Atlanta office, and she also agreed with me about client representative. So this, I would question because the CMS final rule specifically addresses this issue.
So we
And
can,
that's that, not state.
Client representative, it says throughout this
yes.
directive, and I'm trying to find it right now. I can't. Can you give me an example?
Yeah.
Well, on page 2, it's in there. It kind of talks about how it's being used. As it came, on page 2 in the red, I hope you have a copy with red in it, but it's
Yeah,
the,
but it says throughout this directive, client representative used, and I don't see it being used.
I'll find it for you. Go to.
There's that
page
section
6,
under,
page
on
6.
page 2 under note.
Right.
Yes, but if you go under, after, it, I know your page numbers might look different on your Word document, but A, behavior support plans non-restrictive, if you go into there, it does say client representative 3 times on that page.
What page are you on?
Page 6.
6.
Okay, thanks. Hang
It's
on,
in red.
This issue came up when, and in fact, Pete
Need clarity.
to the commission, and that's when I contacted Kenny Howard, and Kenny Howard, it was at a policy committee meeting, and Kenny Howard called that morning, and in fact, had contacted Pete Leggett about this issue. Vicki, you may remember that because you were chairing the policy committee at that time.
It's also on page 7, page 9.
We left it in, although we put the note in that, you know, there were comments and concerns about it, and we wanted more of a legal opinion from, well, maybe not a legal opinion, that's the right term, the Office of Attorney General opinion, but we left it in as it had been inserted prior, based on comment. So
Okay, so
that's why it didn't change.
Okay, so I thought the reason we changed it was because if we left it with legal guardian, then really we're saying in order to have a say, you'd have to have people adjudicated and you'd have to become their legal guardian, and that was the concern.
That's correct. That is
So
correct.
we don't need to raise that concern back up. I mean,
Okay.
we already made that decision at some point to not disallow families any kind of right or information unless they were a legal guardian.
Well, the person can still give permission to whomever they want to have this information. So then the decision's up to the person receiving services.
Well, you know, I think that would work for most people in the ABLE program. But the majority of our people, you know, you're going to have them all evaluated to determine if they're able to give permission or not. I'm just not sure how it's going to work if we don't allow representation.
And I think what we're saying here in this note is that we were just addressing the comments by P&A and ABLE, but it's up to the policy committee to decide if they want to do that or not.
Right, the concerns about the
Yeah, but we're just saying that the
federal
office,
statute,
we
yeah.
can always request an opinion from the Office of the Attorney General, or you can say we don't want to request that opinion.
I don't see why we shouldn't request an opinion. I mean, it's another piece of information. I don't know whether it would muddy the waters or not, but
Well, it's just like when you listen to comments from the public. I mean, some comments you take and you think, well, this is something we want to incorporate, and then others you say, well, it's not it's not in the statute, or it's not. So we're just raising this issue that came up when ABLE and P&A sent their comments in. Whether or not you want to pursue it further, that would be up to the committee.
And CMS
recommend it.
final rule addressed this issue by saying if a state has it in their state statute, then it has to be recognized. And so CMS final rule does not say legal guardian. I checked on that. In fact, that was the conversation I had with Kenny Howard.
Okay, so it's basically up to what you want to do.
Yeah,
I couldn't. I couldn't hear everything that I believe it was
Deborah
Deborah was.
McPherson was saying that she contacted CMS, and this is how it's listed in the final rule
Okay.
as a personal
So
representative.
we would be consistent with final rule, but perhaps
Maybe not with
inconsistent
Yeah,
or
not
violating.
necessarily, yeah.
No.
And your
Okay.
state statute currently has it. Until state law changes, state law has it.
State doesn't supersede federal.
It has it in the rights of individuals with intellectual disabilities.
Well,
Except the ADA is federal.
Yes.
Well, CMS final rule is federal.
I think it needs to be in there, but if we want to promulgate the regulation that it be removed, then I think that would need to go through the legislative committee. I personally would not want to see it removed, but
I mean, I don't want to see it removed either.
I mean,
well,
that's
let's not pursue it from the policy committee and just
Okay.
present what it is.
well, it's just that
Okay.
it might be a lawsuit from P&A or ABLE, but that's fine. It wouldn't be the first time.
They're gonna have to keep everybody with that big dome on top
That's-
downtown, then, aren't they?
That's right.
So, but we'll move on.
Okay, so you're going to accept it the way it is as client representative?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Are you on? Still?
Yeah, I'm
Chris?
here. I'm just having a hard time hearing.
Okay, well, I know you're not on the committee, but anytime you want to weigh in, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I've got a question about this last conversation, and are we trying to change language that's not consistent with what's in in the statute?
Our
No.
statute lists
Go ahead.
client representative under the rights of folks with intellectual disabilities. However, we are saying that is in conflict with the American with Disabilities Act, which is federal legislation, and federal legislation overrules the local statute if it doesn't comply.
Right. Okay.
I don't think that, I mean, I don't think it does.
And again, we're just addressing the comments made by a couple of organizations who had public input. So we want to let you know that.
So we're trying to be consistent with what the feds are saying, but that's in conflict with what's in state statute.
Right. Because the state statutes are obviously very old. And
Right. They need to be updated.
I'm going to come closer to the microphone
Well,
so you can hear me. But basically, CMS final rule addresses this issue and acknowledges client representative if your state law uses that term and allows it, then CMS final rule said that it is allowing it. So and this was confirmed with the CMS staffer, Kenny Howard. It also, that Kenny Howard relayed that to Pete Leggett at South Carolina DHHS. This came up at a prior policy committee meeting.
So
Okay,
what
thanks for the
Mrs. Pearson is
clarification.
basically saying is that the federal rules, like the final rule and the ADA, which is an actual law, are maybe in conflict with one another too.
Okay.
And that's why the staff was not opining that we change it and take it out.
Yeah.
What we were saying is that if the will of the policy committee was to send it on and get another opinion, well, we could just let it be.
I think it would be very dangerous to take it out. And we don't need to run that risk. We need to kind of go by the statute there because our population is, a little bit different in that, and our system is different because we don't have, in South Carolina, we don't have a normal separation and checks and balances of potential conflict of interest. And what little bit of protection we have for families' right to be informed and to have a say should not be removed because most of these people do not have the means to go out and get legal custody. It's too expensive. So, okay, now we'll move on to 603-03. And this is medical and dental treatment for uncooperative consumers. Oh, that was stricken out, wasn't it? So now
Yes.
just safety precautions for medical and dental treatment.
Right.
Recommendation by Kathleen Morgan. So the first recommendation is a title change.
To be more positive in the description.
Yeah. But it really just applies to people who are uncooperative. Is that right?
Pretty much most of the interventions would be for folks who didn't want to go to the dentist or get medical treatment, yes.
Yeah, I would fit in that category.
Yes, dental, yeah, definitely dental.
Yeah, right. So Kelly Eifert recommends that we take out consistent with their abilities, which is
Right.
Hmm?
That makes perfectly good sense.
Yes, it does. I've got in that paragraph under philosophy and purpose, I've got I'll get somebody to read it along and see if they agree with me, but it's a grammatical nitpick. Let's see, it would be the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth line begins with anesthesia. The second word is it, and I don't believe that word is necessary if you
You're right.
look at the structure of the sentence.
You're right.
So I'd like to strike that.
I can't believe Kelly Eifert missed that.
It's a very long, wordy sentence. It's a little
Yeah,
distracting.
it is a long run-on sentence.
Okay, so we're removing it. The next one is a comment by Kathleen Morgan that, what is this, Susan? Do you know? To be posted?
Yeah, it's just taking out be and putting in pose because it reads better. It's a more positive way to state it.
Okay.
So basically,
And
we
then-
shouldn't just assume they're going to be a problem.
Because we try to in the disability field we try to use person first language, so it's the person who then has a disability, person with a disability, and we try not to call people uncooperative or being problems because they're really people who have challenges, and so it's just kind of in line with that. You'll see a number of changes from Kathleen and Kelly that really just kind of clean up our disability person first language, and this is an example.
Okay. So the next one, she's taking out obtain and changing it to created environment.
Yes.
That does sound better. And Kathleen Morgan, instead of saying it would be important when indicated, is suggestion we put is required to document those behaviors which cannot be managed by less restrictive techniques, including familiarization training. So is that going to cause anybody heartburn if we change that to a requirement?
Nope.
Okay. So the next one is Donna Hall, who she added all of that in red. She had that in red. Or just
So Donna is another fantastic editor. We usually get great edits from her on almost every directive about grammar and style. And this is a style change to be clearer in our language, a little less wordy, just flip-flopping the sentence a little without any content change.
okay. Good to me. And then Donna and Kelly both, medical or dental clinic, wanted to add medical.
Yes, because that's contained within the parameters of this directive. So again, just a consistency add.
Okay. The next one would be on my page 4. Kathleen Morgan adds procedures must follow the Adult Healthcare Consent Act to obtain consent based on capacity to make healthcare decisions. Are we saying sedate, that includes sedation?
I think that's just where the comment, I don't know why comment boxes, I think it's just our administrative person is adding them. The comment should be attached to that in red. And I think Kathleen was just trying to clarify that, this medical and dental is medical, so therefore it's healthcare, and therefore it would need to comport with how we establish and obtain consent under Adult Healthcare Consent Act.
Yeah.
Is that how you
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sedation was there.
To pay attention to how
Yeah.
we're,
Yeah.
what it is asking us to vote on, because I did not
Yeah.
compile.
I see that. We will absolutely do some extra work on that.
Okay, thank you. And on page 6, Kelly Eifert writes, familiar with the individual's current medical history, and just takes out regarding the individual at the end, which is the same thing. And
Yes.
she writes for medical and dental treatment of individuals with disabilities. I assume she wrote the whole ending to that sentence.
Yes. Again, just kind of making it clearer.
Clarification. Okay. So we good on that one, Sam?
Yep. Yeah, I'm good.
I am good. I'm good.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That gives us something to report. We still, we don't have the camera policy because the deadline was set past the commission meeting again, and we need to watch that, just kind of get ourselves in the habit of giving us some time. I know we had 30 days this past time, but we just didn't get it posted in time. Either that or we set the deadline past. And
Well, we can.
Go ahead.
You can always, we can look at it in light of the couple of comments that have come in and start talking about if the committee themselves, members, have things that they want to add or move around in that policy. There's no reason why you can't discuss it. You just can't pass it. I think we should look at it.
Well, I don't think we should because we did not put it on the agenda for today.
Oh, no, not today. I mean for the next meeting.
We can send the two comments we've received thus far out.
Yeah,
I meant for the next meeting. Vicki, I'm sorry. I didn't make myself clear. I didn't mean for today. I meant for if we're going to have a meeting prior to the commission meeting this month.
Okay. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to have it in 2 policy committee meetings. In other words, this should just go ahead and it doesn't take that long to digest 1 or 2 comments. So if we had that in time, we could have pushed that camera thing along, and we're all anxious to get that started. But we missed that opportunity. So that's another thing in the future, we just need to be aware of time. And unless we deliberately want to stall it, we need to do it so that we can get it on past and move on to something else, because we have the big looming requiring cameras in communities that clearly from this past month we need to get on that too. So that's kind of what we need to look at protocol wise.
Sure. And Commissioner Thompson, just so you know too, we have a directive that is actually in our list for revision that focuses on that procedure for review of directives and policies. And we've been working under a recommendation for 15 business days for a review period. So that's usually what we use, 15 business days. So again, I think in the commission meeting, that period was just extended because cameras are so important, and the 30 fell then. But in the future, it would be 15 business days unless you all change that policy or advise us to do something different, and then I don't think we'll have that issue. But we'll definitely look at those meeting dates and try not to have any conflicts. I apologize.
Yeah, Susan, this happened a few months. The same thing happened a few months ago, and this past month, the December meeting was held early, so there was plenty of time to get the 30 days in. We just didn't do it. So what I'm saying is, we need to get the calendar out, and when we have a schedule and we want to do it at the next meeting, unless the commission says no, we want to stretch this out, then the expectation would be that we'd be ready this month with a policy committee meeting recommendation on that policy. So in the future, I'm just going to say it again because I already said it a few months ago, and I'm going to say it again, just we need to look, you know, and just be aware so that we don't lose a whole month when we don't have to. Now we have to, and we have to move a whole month. And the other thing I wanted to add, and I, you know, not for discussion here, but to that whole policy process thing, I want the committee to look at a policy on progressive, and the reason I'm bringing this up is I need to know what, if there is one now, if, you know, if there's any kind of conversation about progressive disciplinary action for providers, that, because I know we do the freeze, the unfreeze, but what conditions are met so that a freeze is prompted? Who makes that decision? And what do conditions for progressive disciplinary action need to look at? So if there's not something out there already, you know, there needs to be some kind of set of things that are going to trigger a closer look at the providers with accelerated A&E reports in particular. I know Alliant comes more frequently to some providers than others because if you score high, you can skip or whatever, but I don't think that's really enough based on what they look at. So I'm just going to throw that out there so it's something y'all can be talking about, but I'd like to see us come up with something that has objective criteria to it. All providers who fail to meet the minimum standards. Based on recent events. Okay. Is there anything else?
I don't think so.
Nothing here.
Not for me.
Okay, thank you. We'll adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Have a
long.
good day.
See you Thursday.